Well, I intend to convince you guys.
Start
you
firing?
and you and Colleen.
Yeah.
I intend to try to convince you guys that we should let the applicant send the flyers. 'Cause it's working for Eagle Rock.
Yeah, we should.
Marvelously.
And it works for Silver Lake, I think, as
Well,
well.
you know who it is that we have to convince to allow us to do that? Yes.
Well, if we get the vote.
Let's do
Yeah,
this.
feelers. Yeah, end of the month, we'll do it.
Okay. So, thank you everybody for coming and waiting so patiently. We have quorum. We just seated alternate Brian.
Frobisher.
Introduce yourself to the camera. And we're gonna start the meeting at 7:43 p.m. All right.
Is there a speaker
Right,
card sheet?
Welcome and introductions. Thank you, Terry.
If you want to
That's
speak,
fine.
you don't
That's
have
okay.
to.
Roll call and determination of quorum. Should we just do roll call? Or everybody want to say their name
Sure.
and area they represent? Starting with Michael.
Sure. Michael Diving at large rep. Patrick Cleary, Area 6.
Brian Frobisher, I live in Area 4, but I'm an alternate.
Crystal Roscoe, I am treasurer and area 3.
Dane Bodekeimer, business rep.
Francisco Contreras, Area 5.
Molly Lynn Taylor, Area 4.
And March Piani, organization rep.
Awesome. So official and public comment, if anybody has any public comments or official comments they want to make.
This is where I go.
I just wanted to ask, is somebody taking the notes, the minutes?
I'm taking barely any, but kind of.
Motions, right?
I'm taking motion too.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
There we go.
Motion.
And we're on video too, right?
I have a question. Since you guys are the executive board, can you guys?
No, we're not.
The government.
You're not?
This
This
is
is the board.
a quorum of
Yeah.
the full board, not the executive committee.
Oh, okay.
What
So
did
I was
you
gonna
wanna-
say, since you guys are here, can you approve me as an alternate here today?
No.
Okay, it's not on the agenda.
Regular
It's a
meeting.
special meeting.
Okay. Well, I just thought I would ask.
It was a good idea.
Good shot.
Nice sneaky try.
Any other official or public comment?
Yeah, so I'm here for two reasons, to introduce myself finally. I'm Andy, I'm your independent elections administrator for your neighborhood council and all other neighborhood councils in Region 8. I'm here also just to see you guys. And this Saturday, I'm holding an elections collaborative workshop so that neighborhood councils can come in with their elections committee or anyone who's interested in participating in the election process for your neighborhood council to get familiar with the process and maybe work out some ideas with other neighborhood councils. I have an agenda for that day somewhere that I can link to you as well. And one of those ideas is possibly collaborating with another neighborhood council or other neighborhood councils in a rally after all of the candidates have already been filed. Or in the future for candidates who are interested to have a candidate forum or a candidate workshop for people who are candidates and are running and can learn more about being a candidate and being on the board, which is something that you might be interested in.
Is there another time? Because this is gonna interfere with the day of service, isn't it?
Yes.
I think most people are gonna be doing the cleanup at the elementary school and tree planting, so. is
On
there-
this Saturday?
Yes.
Oh, I see. I didn't know that planning it.
What
It's kind
Would
of
it be a holiday for another region that we could still go to and still find out some information? Because I would love to go.
I think so. I will keep this neighborhood council in
What time is your event?
from 9 a.m. to 11:30.
Yeah, that's right.
That's right when it happens.
Yeah.
All right, I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that, but there will be other opportunities for us to work together, especially at your elections committee meetings. If you have them moving forward, then I'll be
You will
there.
be copied.
We'll have one.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Did you have anything?
No, I got it.
Oh,
Right.
all right, so we're moving on.
Well, one thing.
Uh-huh.
I just have one announcement. In my area, the Neighborhood Watch group has organized a meeting for Saturday around noon. So if there was anybody here that resides in that area, I want to let everybody know. Area 6, it's Verdugo to the 2 freeway, west of Eagle Rock Boulevard.
Where are they holding the meeting, Patrick?
At my neighbor's house on Avenue 42.
No.
I'll put in another announcement on next door, more general announcement, but I just wanted to let the public here know.
Thank you.
The one last thing, I think it's great, like, you guys are so patient to, like, have waited for 45 minutes to start the meeting, even though you had a board member who was here who could have started the meeting.
Two.
Because, like, at other neighborhood councils, if there wasn't anyone or enough people by, like, 7:15, we would have called the meeting. So it's great to see that everybody's motivated.
We've been to this rodeo before.
And also, just to put it out there, I apologize for being late. I was misinformed as to details of the meetings.
And locked out of the building. And locked out of the
And
building.
like another.
Really? Yeah, I thought you
Yeah.
were right over there.
Of course.
Sounds about right.
Yep.
Oh, my
Moving
goodness.
right along.
Okay, so we're on to item 4, report
Yeah.
recommendations from the treasurer. So you guys have in front of you the fiscal year budget that we approved, $40,000. And
Well, that's on the agenda.
yes.
Okay.
I also included in there, and you'll see the ones that are highlighted in like light blue, it's this one right here. This is every single thing that has came out of the GPNC bank account. So you can see in transparency, everything that's come out of the bank account and to who and the dates. And also on the bottom, I have encumbered, and I didn't get to change it on time, but I actually I had honored the MPGs that were pending. So there's going to be a correction on that because now the MPGs are all fully available. So I included the encumbered amounts, and then our available amount, 26,703.23. And in reflection to our fiscal year budget, I'm gonna move on to B, which is discussion and possible action to approve reallocating operations postage services of $1,000 to outreach website maintenance. I have also included all of Wendy's past invoices, so you guys see clearly what she's charged us, how much time she's spent on our website services, the overages, and you'll see in October and September, as I was trying to honor our votes and what we had allocated originally for monthly payments to Wendy, which was $100. I had only paid her $100 for those 2 months, each invoice. So then there you'll see that there's remaining balances. Although, because these are custodial payments and there's been fights with, myself and the Department of Neighborhood Empowerment because she has a contract with the city, I'm pretty much forced to pay those amounts.
Question on that.
Uh-huh.
So are those from a couple things? One is those amounts that are remaining balances, still remaining balances at this date?
No,
Okay.
she's paid out completely.
So the 1,300 is paid.
The 1,300 that you'll see, I did a whole list of everything that I paid out to Wendy Moore, item per item, including those $100 that I, was honoring our original board approval for, and then I continued to pay the remaining balances.
Okay.
So,
So the second question, do we have to use her? Even though she doesn't cover the same,
No,
we
we
have a
don't.
contract with her.
no, you don't.
So there's an opportunity for us to have that
Yes.
at a future date.
Yes, yes.
And I think we should be doing some of this work in-house. If something needs to be rebuilt or a logo placed or something major rework, a page build maybe, someone can do it like her. But I think that someone in-house can maintain a lot of the data on that thing, the text and stuff like that. so.
I agree.
I actually volunteered to do some of the stuff. I may not be able to do all of it, but I can do WordPress and graphics. So I would love to help alleviate some of the financial burden of maintaining the website. I'm now part of the outreach committee, so that would fall under that. So,
Do you think done would have any issue with a non-board member doing it?
I would have to
Either
ask
either somebody that's being paid and is vetted by the city, or a board
a
member.
committee member.
But if it's a committee member,
Uh-huh.
then maybe that'll work.
Yeah, it could possibly be, we'll just have to ask in advance.
It should be fine because the website falls under the jurisdiction of the outreach committee anyways, and so it should be.
Okay.
Here we're-
Sorry. Yeah, I always have a million questions. So on those lines, is there any way, I know we had a very successful partnership with the school on helping with some interns. Is there a way that maybe through the outreach committee we can discuss at the next meeting, continuing some of that partnership, perhaps with your help?
And that's a great item for the next outreach committee agenda. In fact, I just had a phone call today with the mayor's office specifically about youth involvement in neighborhood councils. So there was
Good.
a very successful program in Nassau Park.
Sweet. I'll get back to B, and so because, we've overspent, and you'll see in the actual fiscal year budget, website maintenance, enhancement, and creation is limited to $1,200, and we've already spent $1,395 on her services already. And so that's why I had put recommendation to reallocate money. Also because however long this is gonna take us to transfer the duties over to somebody that will maintain the website, we may possibly have to continue paying her. And I don't wanna, have to come back to this item. I'd rather reserve some money, even if you guys just approve one part of it, so then that way, this next month is covered, and then however long it takes us to transfer the duties and responsibilities over to somebody that will take the website maintenance over. Discussion and possible action to reallocate operations postage service of $1,000 to website maintenance. Is up for motion, or we can bundle it with the next item if you'd like, or just hear one, and I'm gonna really leave it up to you guys if you guys wanna kind of go over it. The second part of that is C, reallocation of $600 from operations monthly dinners. That's because we lost that money. So we lost all the beginning of the year's money, so I thought to just transfer what we lost into the outreach website maintenance, and then that would keep us covered for the website maintenance for this next month or 2 months, or however she's billing us right now, because it's just ridiculous, but.
Why was it lost?
Because we couldn't access our funds.
What's
So the
current-
money was allocated, but.
What's the current status of that? Is it accessible now?
Yes, it's accessible.
So, we allocated $1,200 for the year for Wendy Moore services. And then if we reallocate the $600 from dinners past to the outreach website maintenance, that should cover us, right? Because as a line item, because she's only been paid $1,300, is that right?
Yeah, it'll cover 19522 of the overage, and then the additional,
From
for
January,
something.
but did we get billed, we haven't been billed for January, so.
Not yet. No,
We
we
have
have.
6 months worth of,
No, I paid out January. Actually, I paid out.
Yeah, that's December.
December, yeah.
so if we've got 6 months of Wendy Moore bills coming up, and at an average of, what is it?
It's like
maybe
$200 to
$250 or
$300.
something?
Mhm.
That's gonna be a lot more than $1,000.
I think the board really needs to put this on the agenda again and discuss this, because the board has spoken. The will of the board is that this budget is $100 a month and $1,200 a year, and I believe that the board reconsidered that and stayed true to that number. And so somebody is providing the permissions for these overages. And I think it's important as a board and a governing body that we have that discussion in a public forum so that we know who is approving these overages and why. You know, Wendy Moore does a good service. I mean, she sends out the e-blast, which is great. It's not always easy to remember sending those out. I mean, there are things that she does that are really helpful. And so to be able to put a budget together so that certain things are automated and that we don't have to worry about it, because we all have other things going on in our lives, right? So there are certain things that I think she plays a very important role for us, but there are certain things like posting flyers to Facebook that isn't necessarily the best use of her time or our budget. So again, I think we should cover our overages, because that's a responsible thing to do. But again, I think it's really important that this come back before the full governing body so that we can have a discussion about this.
I agree.
Is Wendy Moore posting to Facebook?
Yes.
So she's more our social media, she's our website manager. I don't know why she would be posting on Facebook.
Also, I just wanted to mention as well, is some conversations that I've had with her, she said that she's been awaiting us to delegate to her what her job duties are and which stuff we want her to post and not. And I've continued to tell her since the beginning of the fiscal year that you're in communication with the outreach committee chairs and you're limited to $100 a month. And she has not, complied with any of that. And, I've told her for several months and she's still going over.
Maybe
She's still doing the same
outreach committee
thing.
should draft a letter, like a literal written letter to Wendy Moore saying, these are your responsibilities, this is the maximum amount you can spend without, board approval,
Yes,
and bring it up at the next meeting and have it on the agenda.
yeah, I agree. But I'd also still like to address, for C at least, if we can, because there's already an overage here. So, if anybody
Yeah.
wants to make a motion.
I'd like to
even
make a
just
motion that we
approve-
approve items 4B and 4C to transfer the monies of 1,000 plus 600 per Crystal's recommendation.
I'll second. Oh.
Finish the vote, sorry.
Oh,
So, as this is up for discussion, I would definitely reconsider the $1,000. And I understand why it was included in the motion, but we have postage that's part of an elections recommendation coming up later. And because we already have the line item of postage included in our budget, it may be wise to look elsewhere for the reallocation because the line item is already there supporting an elections outreach opportunity.
Okay. Marge, do you want to reconsider your motion? Maybe just do one?
Is this, the postage, I don't see postage broken out here, is that under the postcard campaign? I don't see.
Postcard, yeah. Yes, postcard campaign. Right here.
Yeah, I see it.
Yeah.
So that cost is about $800? Up to 8,600. Oh, I see 5,000 up here.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know, is it broken apart with postcards versus?
Well, there's
Postage.
advertising of $5,000, an event expense of $7,500, and meeting expenses. Postage at $2,500 is in the fiscal year budget.
Yes.
So that's still, even if we took that 1,000 out, we'd still have $1,500 for postage. I don't know.
Yeah. Does it break it apart in the
In
election
this,
budget?
I
Yeah.
don't see it. Postcard campaign cost would be $5,000. Residential copy of the list is $500. If we do an occupant list, cost is $378. The committee recommends the board allocate $6,500 for an outreach postcard campaign.
It was not separate with this.
Yeah, no, it's not a separate.
It was assumed in that item.
Yeah. It's in there somewhere, we just don't have the exact number for what it is, but that said, it's always helpful to have the line item to support. That way it's not necessarily included in like the outreach budget, it has its own specific line item. So.
Well,
So is the issue that we need to find that $1,000 somewhere else in this fiscal budget?
Yes, and I mean, depending on how quickly you guys want to take action on the website services, I would really think about that, because if the next month you think that we're gonna definitely release Wendy more out of her duties and services, then we won't need to come back to this same issue with not having the funds and having to reallocate the money.
What is the office equipment and supplies at $13.50? Do we know what that was gonna cover?
Office equipment and supplies. Well,
I'm
so
looking at the-
far, I had considered the iPad that's gonna be
Yeah.
purchased as,
Cut the iPad out is what I would cut out.
But the iPad is already a board
It's
action.
already a board
The board
action.
approved it.
it's a number.
You were at a chat meeting, okay?
Well-
If the board wants to reconsider it, then, but.
I'm just looking down here to see where we can come up with it. I see temporary staff 1,200. Is that Wendy?
It's
Or is Apple One?
Apple One.
Apple One.
And I think we should be clear, we're not relieving her duties, we're defining her duties as
Yeah,
a cost.
yeah.
Right.
We still need her to do
Can I
the work.
comment on that? Like, on the third page, on the one for October, like, for instance, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 dates. Presumably, each of those 8 dates, she was asked, can you do this? And she was like, okay, I'll do that. And she did it. And then the next one, same story. Like, I mean, like, I'm not understanding, like,
No, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
No.
because like
no.
she was asked 8 times. I mean, I feel like she's doing what she's been asked. She doesn't know something she doesn't know something goes on the website unless someone asks her to do it. So like, wouldn't it just be a matter of saying, when you've gotten to 1 hour, let us know?
Well,
I-
that's the way
She's
that it was.
keeping track of it.
Right, and that's the way that it was previously, is that when we were getting close to that point where we're hitting an hour, she would be like, you know, I can't do it this month because I've hit the budget. But, you know, she would ask the chair, me at the time, you know, what do you want to do? And so that was the system that was in place.
Right, and even though it takes perhaps, 30 seconds to do it, there's a minimum. So it's not like, it's a 10th of an hour at max, at minimum, so you're constantly.
Well, I
wrapping it up.
have a suggestion, which is, if at any point you guys want to just ask me if I can do it, I'll tell you if I can or can't, and then if I can't, she can do it, or something like that.
Well, we're sort of moving away from the agenda item a little bit, and
Yes.
this can come back to the board for consideration. But just as a point of clarification, these requests are going around the outreach committee directly to the webmaster. So the outreach committee is not being included in these requests. As a point of
And
clarification.
it's supposed to, or it isn't?
The outreach committee has oversight over the website.
So we should in the future.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
Yes.
Any
This is where you go, all those in
further
favor.
discussion?
Oh. Any further discussion? Anybody else? Anybody else? All right, we're gonna take it to a vote. March,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
okay. Sco,
Yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
me, yes, Crystal. Michael,
Abstain.
abstain. Brian?
Yes.
Okay, so that was item 4B and C, and the motion carries. Okay, so moving on to D. 4D is discussion and possible action to remove current second signatory and cardholder position from Mark Quiros. As you all recall, I've mentioned in almost every single meeting my uneasiness about Mr. Mark Quiros being the second signer, and also him being the card holder. He has made me chase him around, refuses to meet with me to have signatures. and also is preventing from important board actions and board purchases from being made that are really important to us and would make us work more effective and efficiently as a board. So I'm strongly advising that we remove him from his duties and remove him as second signatory and card holder. If anybody would like to discuss, if the board would like to talk about or ask any questions, and if the public would like to ask any questions, right?
Is the second signatory required to continue doing business as treasurer?
It's required.
Is it required? More or less, would you then have to follow that with a vote to place somebody in that position now? And if so, that position, then that person would have to go through the training, is that correct?
If they have funding training already completed, then they don't need to go through the training. A second signatory can step in and take over the position.
Just to be clear, you need the same training that the treasurer goes to, the special training for funding, the second signature has to do as well.
Just
Yes.
funding training.
But am I correct in saying that 90% of this board has gone through funding training? Because
Yes.
that- we had a meeting where we were forced into a.
Yeah, so we were
it was
forced
a board
into,
meeting.
actually, we
alright.
were all forced into a treasurer.
Everybody just
Okay,
left.
great. Yeah,
Yeah.
Without our knowledge. And that's the meeting.
One issue is the card holder, if he's also the card
He's
holder,
also the
there
card
may
holder.
be like some like processing time for a card.
Yes, it takes about 2 weeks.
Yeah, just,
So, is there any rhyme, I mean, not that it really matters, if it's not working, it's not working, is there any rhyme or reason to the non-meetings? I don't understand it, it's literally you're having to chase this person around, or they're non-responsive, or is it everything, or what?
It's non-responses, it's delayance of delivery of signatures. It's a combination of saying that they're gonna do their duty, but then taking long amounts of time, refusing to be in communication with me, and it's just been a headache and stressful, and I really don't need it.
Right.
And, this is a volunteer position, and I'm not getting paid, and I should have somebody that's gonna cooperate with me and be in communication. Yes, ma'am?
I have no argument with this whatsoever, and I assume that Mark received this agenda as well as everybody else on the board, so he had every opportunity to be here this evening.
He did.
Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And so
So is there a motion?
I completely understand where you're coming from and your position, Christian, is very clear. The challenge I have with this, for doing this evening, is the fact that I haven't heard from Mark, we haven't heard Mark's side, I think it's important to hear both.
We did hear his defend himself at the funding.
At the funding. But I think it's important, I would recommend having this table and brought over to the meeting. We have less than 1 week before the next stakeholder meeting. And I think that he should be there at that.
Well, he had an opportunity to. He's been in the loop with several emails that come from the city attorney's office, and also from Melvin, which is our go-to for ethics, and he hasn't responded. I've also texted him to look at the agenda.
Right. No, I totally understand your position. I'm just saying from an opportunity to hear both sides.
Well, if he really wanted to speak his position, then he would have been here.
So I would agree with you if I hadn't had the personal experience of not almost coming here because I was under the impression it wasn't happening. And
So
so
we
I think
don't know
that
if he
has
got a
enough
phone
doubt
call?
in my mind to at least give him a chance to.
Well, he received the email from the city attorney.
There's a note saying he received it, he actually opened it, or?
There's no note,
Assuming.
but he was in the email.
I mean, I'm on a million distribution, this doesn't mean I got the email.
The
I'm
note
just saying, I'm not
asking-
against anybody, I just think
Telling
it's
Can I ask a
fair.
question? Does he want to be that second
That's the question you should
signer?
ask him.
And if he doesn't, then why would anyone oppose? Like, maybe he's glad to be relieved of it. Isn't that what it seems
I
like
don't want to
you're
sit in
getting from
judgment
it?
of him, that's just whatever she needs to do her job.
Yeah, I agree. I just think Tuesday we give a chance for him to ask him that question. Do you want to do this or not?
Well, we've asked him that question, and, it's
He
like,
doesn't answer.
he doesn't directly answer that question, but yet he defends himself, saying that I don't need to chase him around, but yet results are shown that I have to chase them around.
And this, okay,
Is the second signatory always also the card holder? Is that, are those things linked?
No.
Well, would it make your job easier if he were not the second signatory but was the card holder, or the
No,
other way around?
not at all.
So it has to happen, both things have to
Both
happen?
things have to happen.
Okay.
Crystal? And I had requested reconsideration many months back, soon after the appointments took place, just based on my experience trying to get documents signed for an event. So this has been an ongoing issue for many, many months. And I guess the concern is that whether or not it will get on an agenda.
Yeah,
I
I mean,
mean,
it's not gonna be a trial, right? I mean,
Right, I don't
we're
see
just
it.
saying right now that he's probably very busy and can't,
Yeah.
make really quick turnaround or whatever it is. And so what the treasurer is recommending is that, well, maybe somebody can have a faster turnaround and meet with me more often.
Yeah, and I
And maybe
think,
somebody here can, so, I mean, it's not a judgment against him, it's just, we just need to conduct efficient business.
and just for my, I totally hear that. I just think, I don't think a special meeting is the forum to do this. I think it should be our first thing. And if there's a challenge of getting it on the agenda, that's a different issue that we get done.
There's been challenges, many challenges, and I've expressed that to Melvin, that I've requested that several times. And my words get jumbled in the agenda item, and then it's not clear. And then that's why it's always like, well, what was it, the day of the agenda? And I'm like, I really want him to reconsider his position. And he's had many chances to just say, you know what, yeah, you're right. I don't have the time to do it. So, I mean, it's clear, and, whether he just positions himself, just because, but, obviously he doesn't want to do the job.
So is there a motion in our future?
Could I just say that I think, just personally, I think it's irrelevant what his reasons are in terms of the role being accomplished. So if the vote is about getting the job done, then he obviously isn't doing the job. Even if he's got a kid and a mom simultaneously dying of cancer, and we should all go to his house and give him a hug, nonetheless, someone else needs to do the job. And so I guess I'm seeing that as kind of being an irrelevant point. Although I think it's nice that you're being kind-hearted and wanting to hear what he has to say about it.
Well, I think that I would expect that from many of us. I mean, I've certainly been, or heard of meetings where my name came up, and I was away, and I found out about it, and I was like, really? Yeah, you can ask me the question yourself.
I would just like to speak to the importance, just generally speaking, of both the treasurer as well as the second signer. It's so important that these two people work together, not only to sign documents and make purchases for the neighborhood council, and really that's what it's about. It's about working for our neighborhood council and working together so that we can be efficient with our time, so that we can work. Look, ultimately we have to work with each other so that we can do what we were elected to do, which is empower our community. And it's frustrating when you make appointments with people and they don't show up, or whatever the case may be, that create these frustrating situations that we deal with. But again, I would just speak to the chair is the one that chairs the meetings, but the treasurer and the supporting role of the second signer, they're the ones that put the wheels in motion for our neighborhood council. Crystal does an amazing amount of work. There's a lot of responsibility on her shoulders, and if you don't have the person, any treasurer, if they don't have a second signer supporting them, it's not only difficult on the treasurer, but it's also, it brings the neighborhood council to a grinding halt.
Okay, so let me ask this, so item 4D, what's the end result here if you want to get this voted on?
We have to motion to remove roles and responsibilities of the second signer and / cardholder position from Mark Kuros.
Well, so don't we have to assign them? the other person.
That's, yeah.
That's,
ENF.
it's coming up.
Yeah.
The relieving of his duties from, relieving him from his duties doesn't take him away from being on the board, it just
No.
adds his role, okay?
But you volunteered for it.
Yeah.
When no one else would, is it?
Probably.
Pardon me?
I believe you volunteered for that when no one else would, is that correct?
I wasn't at the meeting for
Right,
that.
and I think there's a lot of, we weren't at the meeting or missing pieces. I think that if we vote for this and it passes, it's going to take up so much time that we would have saved, if we just have a chance to bring him in here as vice first. And that last thing I'll say.
I'm gonna take a public comment.
My question is, how many opportunities has he had via email, in person, versus an agenda, being an agenda item to kind of address the issue?
Can you restate that?
So how many opportunities has he had to respond to these agenda items that you have? Are they?
Oh, he's had
like-
almost every meeting
So,
opportunity.
so in person and an email, he's, can you quantify how many?
Probably 4 months.
Another question to ask is there anyone here right now that would like to fill those roles that are going to?
Yes, we have some. over here.
Oh,
Okay,
So,
does
is there a
anybody want to?
motion?
Yeah, does anybody want to introduce the motion?
I'm sorry.
Or I can introduce it. Can we introduce the motion?
One last question. So you're saying that this has been four months ago this has been going on, right? Can you prove that through minutes of the meeting? I mean, is there some evidence, there's some documentation?
There's video footage, there's emails when he tries to lash out, he's called me a liar. He said that I'm the reason that, that the MPGs aren't getting paid, and that the people that submitted the MPGs are angry at the treasurer, and don't wish to speak to the treasurer.
Excuse me, Christopher, wasn't this fleshed out during that meeting that turned into a funding training? I believe there was extensive discussion and callers over this issue and a lot of time spent on it, and it was out in the
I
open.
think that was the
and
last meeting.
Very verbal, very public, right?
And he decided he wanted to step
So,
No, he, I believe, well, he spoke with her directly, so she would be best at characterizing that conversation.
Yeah.
I completely support what we need to have done, and I think that it should happen. However, I also feel like somehow what we do tonight, even if we say, yes, we want to remove Mark as second signatory and cardholder, that the board is going to have the full board, when we meet again next week, is somehow going to find a way to throw that out. I feel, and I don't know how, but I feel like there's going to be repercussions that we don't, that we're not foreseeing yet.
Unintended consequences.
Now, which is not to say that I support, because I strongly believe that you have had nothing but trouble trying to get your job done, and that it shouldn't be this hard.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that we have a quorum, we are the board right now.
That's true.
So, I mean, even though we haven't been in a special meeting, but we're all here, so it's sort of like the voice of the board, and that's what
And
the
it is
board
the first
votes.
time it's been on an agenda, I mean, actually in this form, where it says remove, the word is actually there. So, yeah, we should go ahead and,
Can we table this to the end of the meeting?
No, I'd like to take action now.
I gotta go.
Okay.
No, don't go. Sorry.
Okay,
I
can
don't
we
feel- I
hear
really
it,
don't feel comfortable with
please,
it.
before you go? Can we just hear this, please? I'm gonna introduce a motion to, remove second signature and cardholder position from Mark Kuros. If anybody wants a second. Does anybody want to second that motion?
Fair.
It's not gonna pass. He's gonna vote no, so
No.
you've only got 6.
lack of a second, next.
Oh, 7, sorry,
Wait,
7.
what?
Oh, 7.
Okay, so Molly seconds. And March,
Abstain, sorry.
Molly,
Come back to me, please.
Sko,
Yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Patrick,
No.
me, yes. Michael,
Abstain.
Brian,
Yes.
Molly,
Nice try.
Yes. And it's 5 years.
so motion carries.
Oh, I thought you had to have 8 votes. That's why I was like, it's not gonna pass. Sorry, I wasn't like trying to.
We have to get special action.
Okay,
Yeah.
so,
Can we table the items E and F until can we deal with them later in the meeting? Can we bring items 5A through C up?
sure,
Out of
That would
order?
be nice. I gotta get to a nursing home. so-
5A through C?
Yeah.
Okay.
You good for the election stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna see if we can do it in one quickly, and then we'll see where we go. Since we're supposed to go through the timetable, so for our region, let me run through that real quickly. Candidate filing period started February the 6th, the next month. Candidate registration filing deadline is March 22, 2016. Okay, documents which will prove your qualifications, in other words, so you can get through the system, are due on March 25th, which is 3 days after the close of registration. Candidate photos and statement, if any, is also due on the 25th of March. The candidate withdrawal deadline, remember, if you miss that deadline, even if you drop out, you're still going to be on the ballot. And that date is April 5, 2016.
What was that last one?
The candidate withdrawal deadline, because what happens sometimes if somebody drops out towards the end, but the lock-in date for the printed stuff is April 5, so if you go past that, you're going to be on the ballot no matter what. Okay. And then the release of the certified candidates, which is 45 days prior to the election, will take place on April the 6th. The election day itself is going to be on May 21st, 2016. And in terms of the election day, we have one open question to the board, and that is, on the initial paperwork, we said it was going to be from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., which takes a lot of staff, honestly. The committee, when they met, decided to recommend 12 o'clock noon to 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which is a more manageable time frame. And remember, this year we actually have online voting for people, so it's not as onerous a difference as it used to be. And last time we did the elections, we had a hard time getting enough volunteers and people to really actually handle the election for the extended period. So the recommendation would be that we change the polling hours instead of 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. to change that to 12 o'clock noon until 4 p.m. And so if we can vote on everything at once, or you can vote on that one separately. Your choice. And then I'm just going to go through the numbers for the for the budgets. So if there's any question on how the election timetable is going to work, or what hours we intend to keep the polls open, let me know. If not, the materials from Dunn on the election are over in front of Michael, actually. There's a big, thick elections booklet. There's all kinds of stuff online. The website has stuff. Dunn has lots of stuff. I will withhold further comment. And then the critical part for this evening, honestly, is the budgetary impact of all of this stuff. What it boils down to is if you look at the overall budget for elections this year that's being proposed, it's $20,500 for outreach and $5,000 for the election itself. I say that because unlike our normal annual stipend that we get to run the neighborhood council, this year, because it is an election year, they put an additional $5,000 into the budget specifically earmarked for elections. So that's the $5,000 for the elections committee. So while if you add it all up, it would come to a grand total of $25,000. Of that, you've got an offset for $5,000, so it's not as bad as it sounds. And it's what it's really designed to do, and we'll get into some of the details, is what the two committees would like to do for the first time is we would like to find a way to reach out and touch every one of the 23,000 stakeholders that live in 90065. And if we can do more outreach, particularly electronically for special interest stakeholders who, live, work, play, that kind of stuff, we will do that too. But at a minimum, what we would like to do is find mechanisms to try to reach those 23,000 people essentially who live in our zip code and of whom we average 300 to 400 votes in an election, which is pretty sad. So, in order to do that, is why we have a punched up budget. So if you look at the handout that says Elections and Outreach Committee recommendations,
It's attached to the agenda.
attached to the agenda, and I think I have a spare one over there. I'll do it in chunks, and we can reallocate the chunks once we have the overall budget in place. And the first thing we will do is we'll have a joint Elections and Outreach Committee meeting, start fine-tuning this stuff. We'd like to have a postcard campaign to get it out to everybody. The total cost for that, including postage, is estimated at $6,500. And again, all of these are up to. If we can do it cheaper, we'll do it cheaper. If we can reallocate, we'll reallocate. In terms of the direct door-to-door campaign, which we have not really done in the past, also known as door knockers or door hangers, depending on how old you are. We're budgeting $6,000 to the extent board members and volunteers would help getting those things out and walk their areas and do that kind of stuff. The amount of money that we have for distribution could go down to zero. So we're just assuming that, history being a guide, we better budget to have somebody else do it because we have not had a very high level of participation, honestly, in the past.
Is that something that we can ask to put on the stakeholder agenda?
You bet.
To get folks to.
Oh, yeah. And we want to see if we can get it out on social media and start to, remember, now that we have the electronic database from the Registrar Recorder, which I think is working, okay, we have the ability to take electronic subsets of that and push out emails and, like constant contact and that kind of stuff to everybody. So, yeah, to the extent we can find alternates, we will absolutely do it. Okay.
It'd be kind of nice to set up a day like that, right?
I'd like to introduce the motion.
Okay, want me to finish?
Yes.
Okay. All right, bus benches. Jay Handel cut a deal with somebody at the Registrar Recorder's office, I don't know how, and we can actually get cheap bus bench advertising in our zip codes, and there is a list available of every bus bench in 90065. And we can cover all of that for $1,000.
How many bus benches are there?
What did you say?
It depends on what's available at that time.
And would it be just general election information?
It would be however it was designed. So general elections information,
Would
call
it be
for
the last
candidates.
newsletter at the last?
No, you do a template, and that's the one that they put on all
Yeah.
the bus benches. And what we're working on, and the reason the number is soft, is even though it's not necessarily a 90065, we would like to get as far down York Boulevard as we can on bus benches, because those tend to be our people as they chug back and forth. So, up to 35, I heard from Jay, but I haven't got a firm number yet. So,
One more, the yard signs.
oh yeah, and then the final one that we did at the meeting is, we kind of like yard signs because they are a relatively inexpensive way to get out the message, and if you can do it, we got bills and stuff, and so if you can get it out, people will drive by and see that. So we wanted to budget $1,000 for yard signs, because Molly got a really good deal on yard signs. Just saying. And so we'll try to get those out as best we can until that's spent. Okay. Then, if you look at the second handout, which says the election event budget, we want to budget up to $1,000 for printed flyers, posters, online marketing, online targeted ads, and printed outreach materials. Again, through Dunn, well actually I guess through the registrar recorder, or however Jay did that, we got really cheap prices on printing because they're doing the printing for all of the neighborhood councils. And so you take the template, you plug in, your stuff, and then it's X bucks per thousand. So it's pretty effective. And again, to the extent we can use online marketing, it's electronic, so it doesn't cost us anything. We're also I guess Molly's taken a look at the LA Times to see how many subscribers they actually have in the 90065 zip code. And if it's enough, we may talk to them about doing something with them. Okay. Food and beverage for the event. What we're looking at doing is to have a food truck. Nothing gets people in the door like a real honest-to-God food truck, as opposed to us doing hot dogs out on the grill like the last time. A little challenge. And we've looked at a couple of them. There's a grilled cheese food truck, and you can see those costing. The other one that actually has a food truck, although it's more expensive, is In-N-Out Burger, believe it or not, has a food truck. The downside with them is for their, what was it, $4,500 or something like that, it's 500 meals. So when they hit 500 meals, they're out of there. And if we go with the cheese truck, and again, we can talk about that, it's going to be for the 4-hour period that the election is here, they would be here. And we can just pray we can get it for that price. Okay.
I don't know if this makes a difference, but I know that In-N-Out has a vegan option, the other one probably does not. We can find out.
They may,
I don't think they do.
the grilled cheese truck may.
That'd be interesting.
The
But if
brochure
you're
that
gonna
we
go
got,
that way, then they still slaughter the cow, so.
well, the brochure we got from In-N-Out didn't offer one, but that doesn't mean they don't have it. And I think Molly's working on a non-cheese variant. We'll see. But open question, but the idea is, we know for an absolute fact in all of the neighborhood council elections, if you give free food, people show up. I mean, it works. And for getting foot traffic to get people in to vote, it's a pretty good deal. And the thing to back that up is we also want to do a dessert catering, like a shaved ice truck, because it is likely to be hot. And we got lots of concrete and stuff, which is kind of yucky. And so it's kind of a cool thing for kids and everybody that they can like a shaved ice thing in a meal.
So from an operational standpoint, I mean, is it, you go to the truck with your sticker saying I voted or whatever, that's your ticket to get to the truck, or is it just open to anybody who shows up?
We're working on whether we can do that or not.
Okay.
We don't know yet whether they will let us do I voted stickers and make that a token for a benefit.
I think they would.
Remember, this is a city attorney, this isn't
Yeah,
reality.
Because it's a
okay?
quid pro quo, so
But it's a criminal code either way.
Can I ask,
it's like you only get it if you vote.
Yes. If it
Oh,
passes
wrong
legal
with
muster,
that,
we'll do it. Yes, ma'am.
oh, is the Elections and Outreach Committee recommendations including the money that's already put aside for elections?
Yeah. If you aggregate this whole thing, we're $500 shy of the $25,500 that we have allocated between the two committees. I'm just going over the details so that hopefully everybody's at least comfortable with.
But this is already like put in the $5,000, like you're not excluding it from that recommendation and budget?
That's correct. What we decided to do for this election cycle, because the Outreach Committee and the Elections Committee are working together, concept, is we're having joint meetings. And that way we, depending on how stuff goes, we can move stuff back and forth between the budgets of the two committees as long as we stay within the overall number. And again, the idea is to absolutely do everything we can to maximize outreach, get to as many people as we can, and get them to vote. Because if we could get 2,000 or 3,000 people to vote, That's probably as many in our zip code as voted for any of the city council members who are in office. Just saying. So, up to $700 to close off the street at the intersection, because that would provide us a venue where we can have the food trucks go and maybe have some balloons and stuff and kind of make it a fun thing where people can bring kids. And Molly has verified that we can actually get the okay to do that for $700, which is not that expensive. Balloons, speaking of which, up to $500. And rentals, because if we do that and we block the street off, the idea would be to have a place where people could like sit to eat and do all of that stuff. So tables, chairs, table covers, canopy, and a stage up to $1,000. Add them all together, and it spells $25,000. Yes, sir.
I just did a quick math, and I see 26,300. If I add up this sheet and this sheet,
We'll come in at under 25.5.
okay.
So that's pretty much using the entire outreach budget and election.
It is.
And some of it,
Unabashedly.
remember, is going to be postage for
Yeah.
the direct mailing campaign.
Where we figure that we are hoping to save a substantial amount of money is if we properly use the electronic database that is available to us to do outreach and push advertising and all that kinds of stuff. We're not going to have to spend, 37 cents or whatever it is a pop to go do printed things. That gets very expensive, as do some of the printing costs. So we know we can live within the budgeted amount that we have overall of 25.5 total. Here's all of the details in terms of what the committee is thinking of. As soon as we get budget approval, we will immediately set up another joint committee meeting because it's been about, 2 months now? I guess since we've done this, to see how far along we are with done on the online voting and the electronic stuff. And then we'd like to have a report back in February to the board.
I just want to mention that in this sheet right here, it shows you what's remaining in each category, what's left of our budget. So
Yes.
you'll see there in blue what's left of each category.
Yes, because another attachment, which is I think also out there, is our $42,000 budget at the last time we got a copy of where we were. So I guess what we're saying is, yes, we are spending a substantial amount of money. That's supposed to be what neighborhood councils are really about, is to get people out and get them to participate. Thank you very much. So that we have forums. And we aim to do that to the best of our ability, and we've been very lucky. Jay Handel is in charge of the whole, citywide system. Loves us and shows up at meetings and helps us out on stuff. We've got an IEA, and the city attorney's actually being cooperative, so we think we can really do it. So, with all of that, if we could, in a blanket motion, approve the committee's report and recommendations.
Oh, this is just recommendations?
So this is the proof of budget.
This is actually the budget.
No, this is, our recommendations are for budget amounts. No.
Okay.
But I'm just saying, we can do it in one motion unless we want to get down in the weeds.
I'd like to recommend to hold off on the event budget and talk about that maybe next
I forgot to make a case
agenda.
for urgency.
And then I kind of have an issue with the door-to-door one, the door hangers. I think we can try to rally up some people and get some door-to-door campaigning, so then that way we actually really do outreach and talk to people and talk to them about how important it is and actually get those things to the right people that
I will only
actually.
make one observation. We are approximately 60 days behind schedule right now because the board can't meet and do business. And any delay in this is going to have an absolute delay in the impact in terms of the election schedule and what we're doing when and who and how. Now, having said that, it ain't my election. I mean,
You can always not spend the money after you allocate.
yeah, if I got a budget allocated, we're going to come back to the board with updates. But if we don't start moving like really fast on this thing, it isn't going to come off.
Crystal, just something
I know.
to share about going door to door. When I distributed 110 flyers, it took me over 6 hours. So we're talking about 30,000 people. So if you want to do the math on that, it's way cheaper to just pay somebody to go door to door and get every door than to tax our already limited time, resources, and energy and enthusiasm to be going door to door. And I will gladly talk to my neighbors who I know personally and maybe a little bit wider. And if everyone does that, that'll be really awesome. But I just don't think we have the
But
collective
there's
energy
already
to
a
go.
mailing going out. So this is like an additional mailing on top of a mailing that's already gonna go out.
Yes, we are trying absolutely to do multiple overlays of outreach to every single person in our community, because different people pay attention to different stuff. I mean, sad reality of the times.
And it will be timed differently. I think that was the consensus of the committee, was that the postcard campaign is going to go out first, and then it's going to be reinforced by a door hanger campaign following, because it's, you know, they're going to support each other, but they reach different audiences. And I think that the direct-to-door campaign, I think we have less households, and so this is probably over budgeting, but it's better to over budget and fall short. So, you know, this is something that's really important to me personally, because the only reason I knew about the Glassell Park Neighborhood Council was because I got a postcard from Arroyo Seco Neighborhood Council. And I thought I might as well look online to see if Glassell Park is having an election, because if Arroyo Seco is, then maybe Glassell Park is too. And so I believe that there are people in our community who want to be involved and they want to make a difference. They just don't know that there's an opportunity available to them. And so I think that, you know, postcards, maybe somebody will throw that away, but then they walk home and they see something hanging on their door, and at least we're going to cover the bases to make sure that our message gets out there. And it's not just elections, come vote. It's be a candidate, be involved, join a committee. I mean, there are so many different ways that we can design these elements to be inclusive of everybody, so that anybody who has interest is going to be behind their calling.
What I will commit to do, I mean, in any event, is if we can get our budget parameters locked in tonight so that we know what we're dealing with, we will have a meeting, we will have a joint report back to the full board in the February meeting, I mean, figuring out lead times. And if somebody wants to reallocate stuff in any particular way, the board can always do that. I mean, my thing is that we're already behind where we should have been through no particular fault of anybody. And it takes more lead time than you think to really get this stuff ramped up and going.
Yeah, just speaking to that point, like the elections budget, like for the event, like, you know, there's a lot of paperwork involved in that, you know, getting the approvals from the department and funding, and so it's really important that we start this process now so that we get our paperwork in, and we can start the process to have this event.
My only issue is the door hangers. Like, I agree to the rest, but me personally, I always find it more impactful when I'm actually talking to people about how important it is.
I know, but that may not,
Yes.
that may not
We'll give
happen
you
at
some
all.
door hangers, you go.
Yeah, I mean, I'll gladly, and I'll gather like 10 people, or, you know.
Well, what about
11 people.
in addition to rather than the instead of, because the instead of might not happen? Because I mean, I do agree with you, like, I don't think anyone would argue that face-to-face is way better, but if we don't have enough to do everyone.
If we encumber all of these funds, that means that nothing else in outreach that can happen as an NC event that's actually coming up can have access to any of the funds. So which would mean that those events are gonna have to be canceled because all of the funds are gonna be taken up in elections.
So is there any piece of this that you need now?
Yeah, because he said we're already 2 months behind.
Right, but to get stuff started, I mean, mostly because of the lead times. I mean, when we talked to Jay Handel and our IEAs, in order to get stuff through the system of done and get it paid for and getting everything covered, and then the lead time on logos and printing and all of that stuff, yeah, they wanted us to do this in December.
Right. But is there a piece that we put now to help you move it faster as opposed to Tuesday?
Well, if you want to hold off on the door hangers for a month, you can hold off on the door hangers for a month. I mean,
The other thing that I'm noticing is, the calculations, a little accounting. So outreach and election, so there's $25,000 available, but there's already been some money spent in outreach and already encumbered in outreach. So really, in outreach and elections, we have about $18,128 to go.
So it looks like.
So this is asking us to basically take money out of all the other funds in order to
Yes.
make it happen. So I'm not necessarily comfortable with that. If you were to take off the door-to-door hangers, you'd come out to 18,500, which is a little bit closer to your number.
That's what I'm.
So, I mean, I would agree, I mean, if we're trying to do as much as possible, but I don't know if you want us, we can approve up 18,100, you know,
If you wanna
budget,
take
and
out
you guys
the
can figure out how to
I
reallocate.
think door hangers are better than postcards.
Hey, if it gets us started, I don't care. Okay.
Okay.
I mean, I'm just being, you know, wait, none of this stuff is gonna work out the way that it is on a piece of paper anyhow.
Okay.
Okay, so we just need to get going, and we're gonna be reallocating and juggling and stuff as we go along anyhow, so I'm not a,
Well, I'd like to actually make a recommendation and a motion. I think that it's okay and safe to hold off on the event budget, at least till the next month agenda, and recommend that we match the elections money that's already put aside, which matching 5,000 to the already 5,000 that's put aside, and approving $10,000 for the elections.
Event.
run that one back by me.
The elections and outreach committee recommendations.
So you're saying take the 25 and approve 10?
Yes.
See, I'm the first then. I mean,
I'm matching the funds that are already put aside for elections
Hey, what's the
no,
difference?
my,
from outreach.
So basically enough to cover the event budget.
Enough to cover
Because that's, I think that's
You
the stuff
said-
that's time sensitive, right?
the door hangers or,
whatever the dollar amount is, the way it's
And,
going to backing
or
off the
however
timing
they
of
want
getting
it.
stuff done.
yeah, get
Okay,
it
and
done.
that's not going to fit into any particular category. We'll find out when we say, hey, we want this.
And we also
Then
have.
in next meeting, we can reallocate and find out what we need, where we need to reallocate from, and then come up with a better maybe number, and then we have enough time for the event to get those other funds, the remaining funds that are needed for the actual event of the outreach.
My only
the
comment
elections.
would be, this is the old guy, cynical. My only comment would be, I'm okay with that if the elections matters comes first on the regular general membership meeting agenda. Because otherwise, I will tell you what happens.
Yeah.
Because it's happened every frickin' time we've done this, is it gets on the tail end of the agenda, we lose a quorum, or somebody doesn't show up, or whatever it is, and we're never gonna have a budget.
Or it's on the agenda incorrectly.
Yeah.
Well, that's
I
the whole
mean,
reason this meeting's happening, is
Yeah.
because of the difficulty of it
yeah,
getting
so-
voted on, right?
So, I mean,
Okay,
you guys
can
do
you
what you
come up
wanna
with a
do.
better number
We
that
have
actually
a
makes
community improvement
sense?
project, $5,000 in a community
Do we
improvement.
have quorum of
Line
the
item.
outreach committee to
You know, if the
change that?
issue
I
is
don't think we
Yes.
should do that.
upcoming events or issues or whatever, I
board's
mean,
the
the
only
board
one
can
that can do the-
could reconsider the $5,000
board's the only
specifically
one
in
that
that
can
line
do
item of
that.
community improvement.
The
Without-
doggy way
Without
stations
quorum
go
of the
under
outreach
the
committee,
community
we can't change what the
improvement,
outreach
Which haven't
committee is
been purchased yet and.
recommending to
but
the
are
board.
encumbered
But
already.
he said we
Yeah,
have.
they're
We always have a
encumbered,
quorum
but
of the outreach committee and the elections committee.
they haven't been purchased
It's
yet.
the board.
I'm on the committee, so.
Well, then, that can be added.
Our problems are-
Or reconsidered.
Just saying.
By the way, when does the budget get refreshed again?
July.
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 Oh, I see.
Your recommendation of spending, what was it, $10,000? Approving $10,000 tonight for the outreach
For all.
portion of
Yes.
this? Not the event, but the outreach.
It would be, if the motion was allocating
Well, she
I did a motion, I
$5,000.
made a recommendation.
Yeah, she
So it's
said
a
five-
recommendation.
she
It's a
said
So
five
the
is fine.
recommendation would be $5,000 specifically allocated out of the outreach category.
Plus the 5,000 from election.
But that's already allocated, so that's really a non-issue.
It's
So-
just matching it, matching it.
But you're talking about a maximum of $10,000 for all the outreach leading up to the
But
election.
just as a start, she did say, and maybe possibly approve more later, specific things.
Well,
according to my numbers, if we do that, it's, right now, what we have is $1,650, $16,500. So for 10, you know, that either knocks out postcards or knocks out door knockers. And
What about just allocating the remainder of outreach, 13,128?
well, what Crystal is saying is that if we have any event now, between now and July,
There's no funds.
there's no money to advertise it.
But this is our event.
This is
It's like
Is this what
elections.
outreach
I am
has
there.
decided
I am
though?
totally
I mean,
there.
Like elections is like what it's all about, you know, about getting the word out to our stakeholders. And it's not just an elections message, it's a neighborhood council message. Like, this is your opportunity to be involved. This is your opportunity to know who we are and who to contact if you have an issue in your community. So the message isn't always, this is why it's coming from both the outreach committee as well as the elections committee, because there's a lot of overlap. So it's not just always elections, 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 it's elections and what the neighborhood council does to empower our community. But I hear what you're saying. I mean, you know, there may be things or cleanups or whatever that happen between now and then, and I totally hear what you're saying,
But
but
we'll use social media for those, like we did for MLK.
No, it's
Yeah.
it's a legitimate tension in terms of the priorities of the neighborhood council.
I just can't.
Our view up front is, if the neighborhood councils can't go out and start getting a whole bunch of people to vote, they're going to be ignored by 15 people in the city council and the mayor, because they're already being ignored. And so we decided that was the absolute highest order priority for a neighborhood council if it really wants to function and have an impact. The other way to look at it is, if you got 37 grand to give away to your buddies and people who want to do good deeds, you can do that too. That is a political determination that only the board can make, not me. I'm just saying our budget is based on, yes, taking most of the neighborhood council budget and giving our best shot to really have a hell of an election. That's, you know.
And can I throw out that, once we let everyone know, there are some people who are gonna leave, but a lot of people are gonna still be here for, so once people are kind of in the know, this is gonna be like, I mean, I think it'll have some long-lasting consequences. I hope.
Totally.
Is there anything in front of the planning committee that pending
Yes,
approval?
I'm having fun.
They met tonight. Not that I know of
I
though.
mean, I think it's not alone.
So
They
they have
have
their
a
own,
few
$4,000
different,
they have their own line item.
Um,
It's not.
Well, Molly brought up about the community improvement project, so we can possibly reallocate money. There is something that's encumbered that's a part of the community improvement project, but we haven't spent that money yet, so it's a possibility we can reallocate that and then bring the elections budget up to 15,000.
Either 15,000 or 14,000 if there's no reconsideration.
But that would be cool. 'Cause right now, you're at like basically 10 and 10. 10 for the outreach and 10 for the event.
Maybe what we should do is we should just go, what is the agenda? Like, okay, so the first item is 5CI, which is the outreach committee recommendation. So that's the 1, 2, 3, and 4. So maybe the best way to approach it is kind of going through these things and deciding what we want to move forward with or not. Just a suggestion.
I think that's really up to you guys, because from what Tony had said is that you guys can reallocate whatever you guys need to do within yourselves, and then we just approve a dollar amount for the elections.
Well, and I'll make another point. I mean, I think this is a recommendation from the outreach committee, and they're recommending that we use all remaining funds in the outreach budget to pay for this election.
Correct.
yeah.
So I mean, that's your guys' recommendation. And, I mean, I'd be comfortable with making a motion to, you know, have you guys allocate the remaining outreach budget plus, and then your 5,000 election. So that brings you up to about 18,100.
Cool.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the outreach committee budget, the election committee event, or the election budget, up to a total of 18,100, which is the remaining balance for the outreach and elections accounts.
My second.
Patrick, yeah.
2,100.
18,100.
That's all inclusive of this, plus this.
Yeah, that backs out encumbered funds, right, basically.
Up to.
No, I'm the update, she's, yeah, no,
So you said up to
up to 18.5.
18 what?
Up to
18,100.
18,000. Well, 18,100 for the
128,
combination of both
13.
committees.
We read 18. We might need something, I don't know.
And who's, Patrick?
Patrick.
Yes.
Okay, Marge,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Sco,
Yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
me, yes. Michael,
Yes.
Brian?
Oh, come back to me.
You're last.
Oh, okay, yes.
All right, so motion passes.
You just did that for the tape.
So going back to 4E, discussion and possible action to appoint treasurer as card holder. I'd like to make a motion to make the treasurer card holder. If anybody would like to
Is that
say.
you?
Yes.
I think it's a potential
Huh?
conflict of interest, so I
Okay,
recommend-
confident, okay, thank you.
I recommend yes.
Does anybody want to make a motion?
Is it a conflict of interest for her to have the card or for her to make the motion?
No.
Oh, okay.
To make the motion,
Both, actually. I think potential. I think it's a discussion for.
Molly was
more
card
than
holder.
that now.
I mean, no. Who was
No,
card
but
It
holder?
can go, it is, as far as funding is concerned, I think it doesn't matter either
It
way.
doesn't
Oh, that's right.
It can even be,
Andre was
the
the
card
card
holder.
Andre was the card holder.
Yeah,
Yeah, Dunn doesn't care.
And you can even have a person
The
who's
card
not.
carrying member.
Okay, can somebody make a motion, please?
Somebody.
Because then we need access to our bank card in the next,
Crystal made a motion.
Okay. Or,
I don't want to hold myself to that.
Okay.
So
well,
somebody
I'll make a
can-
motion to appoint treasurer as card holder.
Okay.
I second.
Okay, Marge,
Yes.
Molly,
Yes.
Sco,
Yes.
Dane,
Yes.
Patrick,
Yes.
me, yes. Michael,
Abstain.
Brian.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Moving on to item 4F, accept nominations, elect second signatory. If anybody would like to nominate
That
themselves.
motion passed?
Yes, Marge?
I'd like to nominate Molly since she's already done the training and was a signatory before. That would be the simplest way to go.
A second?
Okay. Okay, Marge,
Yes.
Molly,
Abstain.
Sco.
Yes.
Wait, can I
You can vote for yourself.
Yes.
Patrick?
Yes.
Me, yes. Michael?
Although I have no doubts, Molly did a great job.
I'm not gonna take one.
Brian?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. Item 6, public
Only with that.
comments. If anybody in the public would like to make a comment.
I have a comment.
Yes.
I find it really troubling that certain board members were contacted and told that the meeting was canceled when it was properly posted, and we heard from the city attorney as well as the department that this meeting was in fact an acceptable meeting because it was requested by a stakeholder and a quorum of board members would be in attendance. And I just find that really troubling.
There's a history
second.
of that.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
I would encourage the board member who received that phone call to go on the record as to receiving the call as well as who made that phone call. But I will not throw that board member under the bus.
Thank you. Well, I'm really glad that this meeting was able to be held and everybody showed up and we all came together. And I think it's really important that we continue to, work with each other and just do our thing and serve the community. So if anybody would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Adjourn. Second.
Who's going to notify Mark?
Cool.
I can.
Kelly.
So